Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for a bicep day, and of course I'm going to start off always with a back exercise. And I'm not really going to call this a back and bicep day anymore because I do back every single day. It's a dedicated arm day. But I decided to do pull-ups. I feel like doing pull-ups on this day. I really like doing pull-ups or chin-ups before biceps. In this case, I went back to the style of pull-up that I like. And I really, quite frankly, don't care what anyone thinks about the form. This type of pull-up blows my lats up. It feels great. I get an intense pump and stretch in my lats, and it feels good on my shoulders, and that's really what matters. And I have pretty dang good back development. So yeah, I'm just going to do this style of pull-up. I like that nice wide grip. I like the dead hang, and I just go up as high as my scapula will allow me. And again, it's just a lat exercise. So again, not really worried about it. I want to get the performance back up. I was able to get a few more reps in this at one time with this weight. I got like 3, 4, and 4. But again, I haven't been doing this style, so I got a little weaker at it again. But I'm going to just ramp it back up, right? Work on it, try to do the dead hang on every rep. And then we just trained the holy hell out of biceps. It was lots of pump work. Some of these people will be like, some of these your performance was a hair lower than sometimes, but it's because I did so much of it with short breaks. So my goal for all of this, for all this bicep movements, now granted I had to move stuff around, I didn't want more than 60 to 90 seconds. So I wanted at most maybe 90 seconds between sets. So I wanted to just come in and push my biceps until they just pumped and burned, and I wanted to work every angle. Now those incline curls, those are pretty well, yeah, those are limit sets, but I started with that one. So obviously I'm taking a weight that really I can only get about 10 reps. I could maybe squeeze out one more if I really were to grind. So the idea here, I just wanted all these sets to be 1 to 2 reps in reserve, right? That I know I could squeeze out a little more, but when we look at all the data, pretty well that's almost a sweet spot for muscle growth. So again, I took stuff right around at that point. Now, of course, by the time I get to the incline curls, it's kind of like, or not the incline curls, the alternating curls, people will be like, man, you've done more weight. But I kept them strict, and they were the third exercise. It kind of matters. But yeah, the incline curls, I'm big on these. They give a phenomenal stretch. It's a great old school bodybuilder exercise. So again, I just like that stretch I get. And I like to start with them right now because again, they isolate the biceps completely. The data on them, the muscle growth studies, the EMG studies are all very, very favorable to this exercise. And it makes sense. Like there's a reason the old school bodybuilders liked it. They're like, man, you just get a serious stretch in your bicep. Okay, and you feel the bicep, right? This is an exercise where, for me, I really feel the biceps, and I took it out for a little while, and I felt like it was to my detriment because I feel it. I feel them a lot on it. And then up next, I'm like, I like this combination. It's something I've kind of said, kind of supported by data. But if you really want those stretched positions, right, the incline curl and the preacher curl are pretty ideal, right? They're pretty ideal. They just work it differently because your shoulders are in the opposite direction. Now, a lot of people have argued when they look at some of the stuff on the preacher curl, because again, how do I put it? There's been some evidence showing that it has superior lower bicep growth, and a lot of people talk about feeling it there. However, some of the researchers that measured it did kind of look at it and say, we think it might be the brachialis that's doing that. Like it seems to be recruited heavily. But at the end of the day, can most people tell the difference between bicep and brachialis? No. If you have a big brachialis, you look like you have a big lower bicep. So do we really care? You know, that's the other thing. If your arm gets bigger from it, do we care? Because like when that's been compared, that was a funny study. They looked at it and they're like, well, you know, the incline curl seems to grow the lower bicep more than the preacher curl the lower, but then they're like, it's not necessarily because of the bicep, it might be because of the brachialis. So then, in other words, the incline curl might be a better bicep exercise, but then we come around to that point, aren't we just trying to get big arms? So the two angles make sense, right? We're stretching the muscle in a deep stretch from 2 different angles, right? At a very different shoulder angle. Well, if you're trying to bodybuild a muscle, that makes sense. Let's do that. Sounds like a good idea to me. Let's stretch the hell out of a muscle at 2 different angles under load. Yep, sounds like a good plan. That are super strict and it's hard to cheat on. So again, this is going to be, for me, this is going to be a bodybuilding day. You know, the rest of my training, it's look, I'm doing conjugate, a 4-day-a-week conjugate split, but right smack dab in the middle of the week, because again, how often do they even do that at Westside? Have a weak point day? Okay. For me, it's arms. So let's just get in and bodybuild my arms, and let's just pump the hell out of them. Why not? Get in, push some progressive overload. But again, all these people want to argue about intensity versus volume and all that, but I get tons of intensity on everything. All my pulling, even my rows, I can go real heavy. There's intensity there. The pull-ups are intensity. So if I'm going to take a muscle like this, that's still lagging behind because of undertraining it for too many decades, well, let's just bodybuild it, right? Come in and really treat it like I would, like a bodybuilder would train the biceps. Work every angle, hard sets, right? Take sets close to failure, some of the sets to failure. A few of these sets did reach failure. Just get them real close. Try to be fairly strict, and let's just isolate it from multiple angles, okay? And let's do a bunch of volume. And it was all 10 to about 15 to 16 reps, all of it. So some of the band curls hit 16 or 17, I lost count. But I think that's a real good rep range. Why? Because I do heavier back work in lower reps. All my rowing, the pull-ups. I did a bunch of 6s on rows this week. We're getting plenty of heavy tension there. Let's get in and just work the muscle now. Get some fatigue, get some pump, and use that fatigue to reach the upper threshold fibers. That's the other thing too. People will argue about that. They're like, yeah, but you could reach them without doing that. Fair. But what about if we do want some swelling in the muscle? What if we do want to say maybe there could be some extra growth potential there? And it's worked really well for bodybuilders over the years. And now the argument against that would be we get overtrained muscles. Like, man, you got to watch that with your glutes and hamstrings and pecs and all these big movers for our big lifts. Okay, sure. But here's the thing. Because I'm only going to do the biceps once a week and they're not used as a primary mover in any of my big exercises, do I care? Right? If my biceps stay fatigued for a whole dang week, do we care? And I'm not worried about them being fatigued when I do a heavy deadlift because I'm only going to speed pull later in the week. So anytime I do a max deadlift, it's going to be the day before all this. I won't do another one guaranteed for 6 days. So if there's any fatigue there, I'm not worried about the tendon injury on a deadlift. Let's just get in and train it. So after the preacher curls, and I did those one arm, always leading with the left arm, I decided, yeah, let's do this incline curl. Why? It works all 3 functions of the bicep. Let's just come in, work that muscle, work that muscle, work that muscle. And these got really hard by the 3rd set. Now, again, people will note I have done heavier than this for 10 or for 8. But I cheated a little more and it was a first exercise. Now it's the 3rd. We're just accumulating fatigue in there. And again, I wouldn't normally recommend that for everything because that's a massive debate. But it's a bicep, guys. It's a bicep. It's just not used in my squat, bench, or deadlift. So again, do we care if it's not recovered because we might have done some junk volume? Probably not. This will be the muscle I can probably just get in and do it. Let's just pump it. Pump the hell out of it. Keep building them, right? Build arms, build pecs, right? I'm going to get stronger, but I do need the pecs and I need the arms, biceps and triceps to come up. Triceps are getting a lot of love right now with all the power training. With the biceps need this day, and I'm like, let me just work every angle. So we did all that strict stuff with the dumbbell, the incline and the preacher. Then we did those alternating curls and work all the functions. Now I'm like, well, let's just get in and just finish them off. So these can be a hair sloppier. Just do an incline curl, right? Get in, just do a nice narrow grip incline curl. Why? It's a totally different angle. We're just hitting a new angle here. We could argue it's going to work the brachialis a lot like the preacher curl, but it's letting me again work a bicep a full range of motion, and I'm not really cheating. So notice here, even though it might be a little looser, we're definitely not really using body momentum. So again, just pump the muscle. But keep in mind, we did a lot of stretch position stuff. This lets me get a little bit of peak contraction on there, right? So we hit all those stretch angles. We hit the supination and pronation. Now it's like, let's just get in and get stuff that'll give me a decent contraction at the top but work the full thing. And then we really double down on that on the band curl. So I did sets of 12 with this. I picked a weight. I knew I'd get 10 plus. I didn't know how many. 12 felt right about like I had no more reps, 0 to 1 rep in reserve on these sets. So again, just pumping, keeping the fatigue high, keeping the break short. So again, my goal here is to just pump the hell out of the muscle. Again, it's worked for bodybuilders for years, and I do so much heavy tension anyways, right? I'm literally doing seal rows for sets of 6 to 8, all that, every week, couple times a week. So it's fine, let's just pump it. And so I ended up doing 8 sets. To get to 20, I'm like, all right, we did 4 different exercises for 12 total sets with free weights. Now I'm just going to take the bands. Why the bands? And the bands will build tendons, for one. The higher rep band work will build tendons due to that overspeed eccentric. 2, they put me into that contracted. I'm contracting the hell out of it. Look at the bicep band I get there on that. Okay, it works it completely different. It feels nothing like the other sets. Right? It feels nothing like the other lifts because it's in that shortened position that's contracted. And that's where I argue with a lot of these guys who are like, oh, it's all the lengthened position, the evidence-based guys. No, I don't think so. And I really don't think their data supports that. And we've had way too many bodybuilders who realize we need to have stretch position, we need contraction. This puts us into a hardcore peak contraction, and that band jerks the hell out of you on the way back down. So you get into that contraction, you're squeezing right against that point of peak contraction, and then the band jerks and puts basically a larger eccentric effect, right? It really creates quite a violent negative in a lot of ways. And when people do them, they see what I'm saying, like, oh, now I've tried it, I see what you mean. It almost jerks. It jerks it down. You have to fight against it, even make it go at a normal speed. Yeah, and that's the idea. So again, just chase that bicep pump. So I got like around anywhere from 15 to about 17 reps on these. These were about 30 seconds apart. Just took them till they burned. Just burned the hell out of the biceps for 8 sets after doing all the other work. And I'm just going to leave them alone for a week. They'll get re-stimulated on all the other pulling because I'm going to do rows and dumbbell rows and seal rows. But overall, happy with the workout. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.